Okay, we're going to try this again. We will go back to the phone because I know the phone works, and I'm just going to check it on my computer so that we have that up and running. I'm really pretty much an on-time person, so it makes me crazy to run late. But yes, it looks like we are live. Check the sound. Yes, it looks like we are live. Okay, we should be good. Um, Now I want to mute myself. Okay, I am so excited about this week's topic because it's the one that has probably been foundational in changing my own health journey. And as with much of this program, it trickles over into other areas of our lives. It trickles over into relationships and into finances. It trickles over into work. And I'm just still checking to make sure we got everything going here. And so this one, element 4, is the one that I notice most of my clients have their aha moments. Most of them, we plow through element 1 and element 2 about our why and what do we want to create. And those are really kind of awareness raising elements. And then element 3 and element 4 really start to develop some traction for us. If we take these 1 week at a time, most of my clients who start the first week with these habits of health, this is like a month in and they're having lots of ahas and lots of success. And so it's where we see the biggest shift in how we do life and moving to how dreaming into how we're going to live this life going forward. It's just such an awakening time. And so this element for building the healthy mindset really is, we're going to focus on identifying our thoughts that are not supporting our health goals and understanding two triangles, the drama triangle and the empowerment triangle, because you will probably be surprised at how much we live in the drama triangle. We don't even realize it. And the empowerment triangle is a tool that Dr. Anderson built so that we could have something easily accessible that we can use. It's doable. It's rewarding. It's practical, and it just works. But then the fun thing about this is we're going to look at the brain, not in a nerdy way, but in kind of a comical way. And I think you might find that makes a lot of sense too, because when we look at the brain, we're really going to start to have some takeaway moments with this. So if you have not done so, pull out your life book and your Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health, or have them digitally. This is element 4, building a healthy mindset. It is powerfully rooted in both the awakening and the application of this. So, many of you know I was camping this week, and one of the reasons that Terry and I go camping is to reset, to break up the rhythm of our time here at home, because like he's out mowing the grass right now and I'm doing laundry, and we've got some things going on this weekend. Got to head up to Nashville and see one of our granddaughters in the homecoming parade. And so when we get into the woods, it changes the rhythm. And if you think about music, Dr. Anderson describes it this way. If you had the same rhythm the whole time, like it just gets boring, right? But when you break it, and add some variety to it, it takes on life. It takes on a little bit more of a pleasant um, synchronization, I think is what they call it. I'm so not a music person. So for us, it's like going camping is a rhythm of life. It gets us out of the house, it gets us in a different environment. We love nature. And so it recalibrates and it resets us, but mostly it resets us in our mindset. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. With these triangles, with the brain, we're really going to talk about resetting when we take that moment to pause. Last week we looked at strategies. This week we're really going to see where those strategies apply. Every element builds on the previous ones. Um, so the root of building a healthy mindset is really in our emotions. The problem is we set ourselves up for um, um, disaster, for self-sabotage, I like to call it, with emotional mismanagement. And emotional mismanagement is what got our health out of whack to begin with, right? I mean, we're emotional eaters. Either we don't eat when we're emotional, or we eat too much when we're emotional. And in the case of me, it didn't matter what my emotions were, I just enjoyed eating, right? I'm just going to check and make sure that the sound is all good. Are we good on this? Because I can't see the comments here. And now I've lost my toggle. Let me just make sure I can see. All right, I don't see any comments. So feel free to drop a comment in. And in the meantime, we will just keep going. So emotional mismanagement. It's It's the heart of this element. It's really where we um, fall off the rails. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. Um, and the goal of this element is to begin on your journey to become the dominant force in your life, so that you're not being ruled by your emotions. You're not being responding to other people's dreams and desires, and you're just helping them on their journey, but you are the dominant force in your own life to accomplish your goals so that you can show up for other people. Does that make sense? So that's our goal, is to become the dominant force in our lives. And I wanted to share some screens, but it's not going to happen. So I'm going to refer, hopefully, to some of the graphics in our book. I tried to set it up and it just wasn't going to work. But just imagine that we have a line, right? And above the line, what we're looking at is, we're open to growth. We're open to new ideas. We're open to working towards our dream and moving forward, and we're really thriving in our lives. Below the line is where we're defensive, we're shut down, we're withdrawing, we're not letting anyone in. We're more concerned with being safe, being right, than we are with thriving and growing and being open to new ideas. So what we want to do when we become the dominant force in our lives, we look at areas of our lives that we have a growth mindset where we're living above the line, or we have a defensive mindset and we're not growing and we're just trying to protect ourselves, like I say, be right, win the argument, win at all cost. And the key here is that we would be self-aware, because in my experience, we're above or below the line in different areas of our lives, right? Like a lot of times our work life and our work relationship can look very different than our family dynamic can. And so the key is going to be self-aware of, am I living from a growth mindset in this circumstance, in this environment, or am I really withdrawn and I feel powerless, defensive, um, withdrawn in this circumstance, because in different circumstances, I really believe in my experience, we respond differently. So the first key is to be self-aware. Are we really living above the line, or are we living below the line? And once we can identify that, then we can begin to manage our emotions, because that always comes from a reason, right? So when we think about, we have a situation where maybe someone is being aggressive in a conversation. Maybe we're on a team and they're trying to push an agenda, which maybe we see some gaps in, some holes in, some ethical or legal or reasons that maybe that agenda isn't the best one that we could choose. And we take a minute and we think, okay, am I feeling powerful here to maybe honestly ask for a pause and have the conversation? Or am I feeling like I don't have a voice? You know, we're looking for that trigger. So when we respond from a place of growth, I mean, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I mean, I think in every situation, there's a reason to speak out or a reason not to speak out. But the key here in this case is to be self-aware, because when, like, suppose you're in that meeting and you do choose to speak out and everybody piles on, and, you know, and now you're looking like the bad guy, the response could easily be, well, I'm just going to go to Olive Garden and eat endless pasta or something, you know. And then what happens is we set ourselves up for the frustration, the guilt, the shame, the discouragement, and that cycle begins to repeat itself. So it's pushing us below the line. When we choose to live from an open and positive mindset, now we can begin to live above the line, where we're not a victim and we're not responding from a place of um, insecurity and withdrawn, but we're trusting our intuition and our instincts. And irregardless of the consequences, we can handle that emotion in a healthier way. And that's where our strategy from last week comes in. So suppose we're in this conversation and I choose to question the solution on the table and I get totally shut down. I now have a choice. I can go back and feel shame and discouragement and insecurity, and then eat, in this case, or drink, or whatever your go-to might be. Or I can take a minute and I can stop, as I shared in the last couple of weeks, and just breathe. Just breathe. Just take a minute. My watch is always telling me, just breathe. And when I breathe, I can reset my emotions. So I'm not mismanaging them. I'm not being led by them, but I'm actually choosing something that's healthy, so that now I can make a decision what I want to do next from a calm and collected point of view, rather than a victim mentality. And so I really want to, I don't want to get into next week. Next week is element 5. And element 5, we're really going to talk about our surroundings, both our physical and maybe some relational. But in this case, in element 4, this idea of the drama triangle is powerful, because as with like a circle and a triangle, we go around based on where we start. So if we start with, and this is in your life book on page 109, if we start with the drama triangle with I'm a victim, and it's all my fault, this is being done to me, I don't have any help, it's not fair, then we're really, and we start to blame, you know, like I remember a season of my life where I felt very much like a victim, and I was blaming my supervisor at work for all the problems in my life that really she had nothing to do with. She was just my supervisor at work. Um, but what happens when we operate out of that victim mentality, we're cycling around and we're looking for a hero. Instead of being the hero of our own story, we're looking for someone else to come rescue us. And then what happens in that case is the villain in our mind gets stronger and reinforced. The hero then is behaving codependently and coming to save me because I'm looking to be saved. And then we just stay in this victim cycle. And that's why they call it the drama triangle, because it's all centered around some drama where we are living below the line and we're feeling powerless. And so we're really encouraging heroes to come save us, identifying villains, shutting those off, and then not having healthy relationships and not thriving in our own. Now, we get caught in this for those reasons of shame or pride or just basic fear. I mean, and our brain, because we know our brain is a muscle and it begins to respond on a habit loop. So these triangles are going to begin to build new habit loops. Does that make sense? So in the opposite triangle is our empowerment triangle on page 110. And in our empowerment triangle, things begin to change because our mindset is different. We're taking a minute, we're stopping, we're doing our new choice response. We stop, challenge that thought. I'm not a victim here. Or maybe I am thinking about somebody else's drama and I'm trying to be a hero for them. But we stop and we think about what it is we're thinking, what is it we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, and we choose to use one of our strategies: breathing, taking a drink of water, maybe just walking to the restroom where no one will follow you into the stall, and just breathe in there, right? And then we can respond from a healthier mindset. So in the empowerment triangle, we're in charge of what happens because we're using our stop, challenge, and choose. We're in charge of how the story plays out from our perspective. And we are not going to encourage heroes. We're not going to encourage villains, but instead, because we are powerful, we're helping other people be powerful. So we can show up for other people because we've shown up for ourselves first, right? Like, I know that this is basic, but look how it applies in almost every circumstance in life. So we have the drama triangle that keeps us in this loop, and what we're building with this element is a new habit loop from an empowerment triangle perspective, where we stop and we challenge what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and we choose to just take a minute and reset before we respond, so we respond from a healthier place. Now your brain is gaining prior experience to respond from in the future, and that's how this new habit is going to be built. Do you see why this is really the foundation of what we call the habits of health? Because it's going to apply in everything. It's going to apply in our healthy eating and hydration, in our healthy motion, in our healthy surroundings, in our mindset. It applies at work, at home, in the community. It applies everywhere. It's brilliant. So the empowerment triangle is a micro habit under the macro habit of healthy mindset. And that's why we have these 6 macro habits, and under each one we have several micro habits that give you the baby steps to build on them going forward. So what do we want to do? Let's see. I want to begin to wrap this up. Oh, I wanted to tell you about the brains. So Dr. Anderson, he has such a great sense of humor. There's basically 3 brains. There's this part of your brain that's just automatic responses. You touch something, you pull away. Something hot, and you pull away. You breathe automatically. If someone startles you, these automatic responses. Well, Dr. Anderson calls those the lizard brain. And right after our triangles, he develops this diagram for the three brains. And I love that he has put animals next to them. So our lizard brain, in the way back of our brain, is just the automated response. You know, we touch something hot, we pull our hand away. The middle brain, he calls the Labrador brain, and that's really our emotional response. You know, I know we were talking, Melanie and I earlier, and there was a lot of emotion in our conversation. And those emotional responses, those things that make us cry, those things that make us laugh, those things that bring us joy, like Terry and I, you know, being in the woods and just giggling about different things, that comes from that middle brain. So when we talk about emotional mismanagement or emotional management, we're talking about those emotional responses. That middle Labrador brain is the one that takes you into the kitchen or into that restaurant and ordering the endless bowls of pasta. The human brain is I think it's the limbic brain, the one in the front is the logical one, the one that we want to make healthy choices from. So when we talk about stop, challenge, and choose, we're talking about that human brain in the front. So the emotional response starts to kick in, but the human brain says, no, we're just going to take a minute and we're going to drink some water. We're just going to keep our water bottle. I'm not going to answer that nasty text message. I'm going to take a drink. And if I'm still not ready to respond from a place of love and empowerment, I'm going to take another drink. Maybe take a breath. 60 seconds, 120 seconds. That's really all we need to stop, to challenge what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and to decide how we're going to respond, to choose how we're going to respond. So these three brains exist in everyone's brain, and we get to choose which one we're going to respond from. I think it's awesome. So what I want you to think about this week, because we've talked about above the line where we have a growth mindset, and below the line, we've talked about the empowerment triangle and the drama triangle. And the tool going forward is really to understand which brain maybe is saying, hey, let's just go get an ice cream, you know. It's probably your Labrador brain, you know, it's that I just want to feel good, you know. And yes, we want to feel good, but we want to respond from a place of empowerment. So we want to respond, say, no, I get to choose how I'm going to respond. And sure, maybe you do choose that ice cream. But when you do choose from a place of empowerment, you're most likely not going to have the shame, the guilt, the negative self-talk spinning around your head because you made the choice going into it. No, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to beat myself up. Today's the day. I'm just going to go do this. So here's your action steps. This week, be more aware of where you're making your decisions from. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling that way? And take a moment to stop, drink your water, reconnect with yourself, take a deep breath, 60 seconds, 120, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Maybe just go into the restroom, take a breath. What is it that you want to respond? How do you want to respond from a place from your human brain, not your emotional brain, not your lizard automated response brain, but how do you want to respond to this situation in this moment? And then you're coming from a place of the empowerment triangle. You're making the decision. You are in control. You get to decide. And so you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for thriving because you're getting out of that drama triangle of the shame, the guilt, the negative self-talk. Does that all make sense? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I'm going to put in the comments of this the action plan for going forward. And again, what we're looking at is your life book element 5, and I think it parallels with 1.7, maybe 1.6. Yeah, 1.6 in your habits of health. So 1.6, you're in charge, set yourself up for success. Be blessed. Oh, let's take a minute and just pray, and then we'll call it a night. Father God, we thank you so much for the simplicity of sustainable health. We thank you so much that you created us with the ability to be powerful, to break out of negative cycles, Lord. And we just ask you for the self-awareness this week to see where we're falling below the line, what the circumstances are, what the cycles are, so that we can begin to choose from a place of empowerment, so that we break the negative cycle, the destructive cycle, so that we build new habits in our mindset. We trust you, God, to do what only you can do as we apply these tools to our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for your patience. I love you. Hello, Tammy. I see you, girl. Melanie, have a great week. And if you are brave enough, leave a note in the comments to how you're doing with the action steps this week. Bye-bye.